The first time I saw her, she was standing in the rain outside St. Vincent's Hospital, crying so hard her whole body shook. Not the quiet, dignified tears you see in movies, but the kind of crying that comes from somewhere so deep inside you that it feels like your soul is being torn apart. I should have kept walking. I was already late for my shift at the restaurant. My phone was buzzing with angry texts from my manager, and honestly, I'd learned a long time ago that in this city, you keep your head down and mind your own business. But something about the way she stood there, clutching a crumpled piece of paper in her hands like it was the last solid thing in the world, made me stop. "Are you okay?" I asked, immediately feeling stupid. Obviously, she wasn't okay. She looked up at me with eyes so red and swollen I could barely see their color. "They said I can't afford it," she whispered. "The surgery. My daughter needs surgery, and I can't afford it. I'm not a hero. Let me make that clear right now. I'm a 32-year-old waitress living in a studio apartment in Queens with a maxed-out credit card and student loans that will probably outlive me. I work doubles on weekends, eat ramen more often than I'd like to admit, and my idea of a vacation is taking the subway to Coney Island on my day off. I'm nobody special." But standing there, looking at this woman whose entire world was collapsing, I heard myself say, "How much do you need?" Her name was Maria Santos, and her daughter, Sophia, was 7 years old. Sophia had been born with a congenital heart defect that had worsened over the past year. The surgery she needed cost $60,000, and Maria's insurance had denied the claim, citing some clause buried in fine print that nobody but lawyers could understand. Maria worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices at night and working as a home health aide during the day. She'd saved $8,000, which sounds like a lot until you realize it's not even close to enough. I gave her $40 that day. It was literally all I had in my wallet until my next paycheck. She stared at the 220s like I'd handed her a winning lottery ticket, and I felt simultaneously proud and ashamed. Proud that I'd done something. Ashamed that something was so pathetically small. But here's the thing about small gestures. Sometimes they ripple. I couldn't stop thinking about Sophia that night at work. Between taking orders and refilling coffee cups, I kept seeing Maria's face, kept hearing her broken voice. During my break, I did something impulsive. I created a fundraising page on one of those crowdfunding websites. I titled it "Help Sophia Get Her Heart Surgery" and wrote everything Maria had told me. I shared it on my Facebook page, which had maybe 200 followers, mostly high school acquaintances and former coworkers I barely talked to. Then I went back to work, expecting nothing. By the time my shift ended at midnight, the fundraiser had raised $300. By morning, it was at $2,000. I couldn't believe it. People I hadn't spoken to in years were donating $10, $20, $50. They were sharing the post, and their friends were donating too. A woman in Oregon I'd never met sent $100 with a note that said, "My son had heart surgery when he was 5. I remember that fear." Tell Maria she's not alone. A retired teacher from Florida donated $50 and wrote, "This is my late daughter's birthday money. She would have wanted this." I called Maria, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. When I told her, she didn't believe me at first. Then she cried again, but this time it was different. This time, there was hope mixed in with the pain. The fundraiser kept growing. A local news station picked up the story and ran a segment about Sophia. That's when things really exploded. Within 48 hours, we'd raised $30,000, then 40. Then 50. People started showing up at the hospital with cash, with checks, with gift cards for food and gas. A restaurant owner I'd never met brought Maria and her family meals every day for a week. A lawyer offered to fight the insurance company for free. A taxi driver gave Maria free rides to the hospital for a month. We hit $60,000 on day 5. I went to the hospital the day they scheduled Sophia's surgery. I don't know why exactly. Maybe I needed to see that this was real, that all those donations and shares and messages actually meant something tangible. Maria saw me in the waiting room and ran to me, hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. "You saved her," she sobbed into my shoulder. "You saved my baby." But that wasn't true. I hadn't saved Sophia. We had hundreds of strangers who'd each given a little piece of what they had, who'd seen someone else's pain and decided to do something about it. They'd saved Sophia. The woman in Oregon, the retired teacher in Florida, the high school friend who donated $20 even though I knew she was struggling herself. Every single person who'd clicked share or donate or who'd said a prayer or sent good thoughts. They were the heroes. Sophia's surgery was successful. 8 hours that felt like 8 years. But successful. When the surgeon came out and gave Maria the news, the entire waiting room, full of people who'd come to support a family most of them had never met, erupted in cheers and tears. But the story doesn't end there. It couldn't end there, because something had shifted, not just for Maria and Sophia, but for all of us who'd been part of it. 2 weeks after Sophia's surgery, I got a message from a woman named Jennifer. She donated to Sophia's fundraiser, and now her brother needed help with cancer treatment costs. Could I help? Then there was Marcus, whose house had burned down, and elderly Mrs. Chen, who couldn't afford both her medications and her rent, and a young veteran named David who was living in his car. Each time, I created a fundraiser. Each time, people showed up. The same people, new people, growing networks of humans helping humans. It became a snowball of kindness, rolling downhill and gathering momentum. We created a Facebook group called Community Angels where people could post needs and offers of help. It started with 30 members. Within 3 months, it had 5,000. People weren't just donating money anymore. They were donating time, skills, and resources. A plumber fixed Mrs. Chen's leaky pipes for free. A group of volunteers rebuilt Marcus's house. A real estate agent found David an affordable apartment and covered his first month's rent. The restaurant owner who'd fed Maria's family started a program to provide free meals to families with children in the hospital. 6 months after that rainy day outside St. Vincent's, I was invited to speak at a community center about community angels. The room was packed with over 300 people. As I stood at the podium, looking out at all those faces, I realized something profound. We'd all been waiting for someone to remind us that we're capable of extraordinary kindness, waiting for permission to care about strangers, waiting to remember that we're all connected, all human, all in this together. Maria and Sophia came to that event. Sophia, healthy and glowing, gave me a picture she'd drawn. It showed stick figures holding hands in a circle, with a big heart in the middle. At the bottom, in careful 7-year-old handwriting, she'd written, "Title her Angel." I stared at those words for a long time, my eyes blurring with tears. But I wasn't an angel. I was just a waitress who'd stopped in the rain. The real angels were everyone who'd said yes when they could have said no, who'd given when they could have kept, who'd cared when it would have been easier not to. That night, I updated our Community Angels page with Sophia's drawing and her words. I wrote, "We can't all do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. Every single one of us has the power to change someone's life. You don't need money or resources or special skills. You just need to stop when you see someone standing in the rain. You just need to ask if they're okay. You just need to give what you can. Even if it's just $40, even if it's just your time, even if it's just your attention. Because small things ripple, small things grow, small things save lives. The post went viral, not because it was eloquent or profound, but because it was true. Because thousands of people read it and recognized themselves in it. Because it reminded us all of something we'd forgotten. That the opposite of despair isn't help, it's action. And action doesn't require wealth or power or fame. It just requires willingness. Today, Community Angels has chapters in 47 states. We've helped thousands of families, raised millions of dollars, and created a network of humans who've decided that other humans matter. All because I stopped in the rain. All because hundreds of strangers decided to care about a little girl named Sophia. All because we remembered what we're capable of when we choose kindness over indifference. I still work at the restaurant. I still live in that studio apartment in Queens. I'm still nobody special. But I know something now that I didn't know before. None of us are nobody. We're all somebody to someone. And sometimes, when we are brave enough to reach out, when we're willing to be vulnerable and ask for help or offer it, we become somebody to everyone. Maria still calls me every week. Sophia just turned 8. She wants to be a doctor when she grows up, so she can help kids like her. And me, I'm still learning to accept the title Sophia gave me that day. Not angel, exactly. But maybe something just as important. Human, flawed, imperfect, limited, but willing. Always willing to stop in the rain, to ask if someone's okay, to give what I can. Because in the end, that's all any of us can do. And incredibly, impossibly, beautifully, it's enough.